Have you ever wondered how a group of nomadic warriors from the Central Asian steppes managed to forge one of the most powerful empires in history, uniting a fractured Muslim world and paving the way for the mighty Ottomans? This is the epic story of the Seljuk Empire. Our story begins in the 10th century, not in a grand palace, but on the vast windswept grasslands of Central Asia. Here, the Oghuz Turks, a confederation of nomadic tribes, roamed with their herds. Among them was a clan led by a chieftain named Seljuk. Little did anyone know, his descendants were destined for greatness. These were tough, skilled horsemen and archers, honed by a life of constant movement and tribal warfare. Their conversion to Sunni Islam in the late 10th century was a pivotal moment. It wasn't just a change of faith. It was an entry ticket into the heart of the Islamic world, a world that was deeply divided. At this time, the Great Abbasid Caliphate in Baghdad was a shadow of its former self. The caliph was merely a figurehead, with real power held by various regional dynasties, like the Persian Buyids, who were Shia Muslims. This created a major religious and political rift. The Muslim world was a patchwork of competing states, from the Fatimid Caliphate in Egypt to smaller emirates scattered across Persia and Syria. It was into this fragmented landscape that the Seljuks rode. Led by Seljuk's grandsons, Tughril Beg and Chagri Beg, the Seljuks began their incredible expansion. They weren't just random raiders. They were organized, disciplined, and driven by a powerful ambition. In 1040, at the Battle of Dandanukan, they decisively defeated the powerful Ghaznavid Empire. This victory was their turning point. It gave them control of Khorasan, a vast and wealthy region in modern-day Iran and Afghanistan, and announced their arrival as a major new power. Tughril Beg was a brilliant strategist. He saw the weakness of the Abbasid Caliph and marched towards Baghdad. But he didn't come to conquer and destroy, came as a liberator. In 1055, he entered the city, overthrew the Buyid dynasty, and restored the authority of the Sunni Abbasid Caliph. In return, a grateful caliph bestowed upon Tughril the title of Sultan, meaning authority. This was a monumental event. For the first time, temporal power was officially separated from the spiritual authority of the caliph. The Seljuk Sultan was now the protector of Sunni Islam, the military muscle of the caliphate. Under Tughril's successors, the legendary Alp Arslan and his brilliant vizier, Nizam al-Mulk, the Seljuk Empire reached its zenith. Alp Arslan, whose name means heroic lion, was a masterful military commander. His gaze turned west, towards the Byzantine Empire, the ancient Christian rival of the Islamic world. The borderlands of Anatolia, modern-day Turkey, had been a zone of constant conflict for centuries. This all came to a head in 1071 at the Battle of Manzikert. Alp Arslan, with a smaller but highly mobile Turkish cavalry, faced a massive Byzantine army led by Emperor Romanos Diogenes. The Seljuk tactics were classic steppe warfare, feigned retreats, flanking maneuvers, and devastating showers of arrows. They lured the heavy Byzantine infantry into a trap, and the result was a catastrophic defeat for the Byzantines. Emperor Romanos himself was captured. Manzikert wasn't just a battle. It was an earthquake that reshaped the map. It shattered the Byzantine defenses in the east and opened the floodgates of Anatolia to Turkish migration. For the next several decades, Turkic tribes poured into the region, transforming it from a Greek-speaking, Christian heartland of the Byzantine Empire into a Turkish-speaking, Muslim land. This was the birth of Turkey. A branch of the Seljuk dynasty established the Sultanate of Rum, based in Anatolia, which would rule the region for over 2 centuries. The Seljuks weren't just conquerors. They were master administrators and patrons of culture, largely thanks to the genius of Nizam al-Mulk. He served as vizier for over 20 years, effectively running the empire. He established a highly efficient bureaucracy, standardized the tax system, and built roads and caravanserais that spurred trade along the Silk Road. Perhaps his most enduring legacy was the creation of the Nizamiya Madrasas, a network of state-sponsored universities across the empire. These were centers of learning, teaching not just Islamic theology but also law, literature, and science. They promoted a unified Sunni doctrine, countering the influence of Shia Islam, and produced a class of educated administrators and scholars who helped unify the vast empire. Thinkers like the great theologian Al-Ghazali taught at these institutions, shaping Islamic thought for centuries to come. The Seljuks presided over a golden age of Persian art and architecture, characterized by intricate tilework, majestic mosques, and soaring minarets. However, like all great empires, the Seljuk Empire faced internal and external threats. Their very success created problems. The system of granting land to military commanders in exchange for service led to the rise of powerful local lords who often acted independently. Rivalries within the Seljuk royal family also led to civil wars that weakened the central government. Then from the west came a new threat, the European Crusaders. Stirred by the Seljuk takeover of the Holy Land, the First Crusade arrived in the late 11th century. The disunity among the Seljuk successor states allowed the Crusaders to capture Jerusalem in 1099, while later, Seljuk leaders like Zengi and his son Nur al-Din would begin the process of pushing the Crusaders back. The initial shock revealed the cracks in the Seljuk world. The final blow, however, came from the east. In the 13th century, the Mongol hordes under Genghis Khan and his successors swept across Asia. They were an unstoppable force. The Seljuk territories in Persia were overrun, and in 1243, the Seljuk Sultanate of Rum was defeated by the Mongols at the Battle of Cake-Sedak, becoming a vassal state. The once mighty Seljuk Empire had crumbled. But the legacy of the Seljuks did not die. It fundamentally changed the Middle East forever. They had re-established Sunni unity, created the powerful institution of the Sultanate, and championed a cultural and intellectual renaissance. Most importantly, they had Turkified Anatolia, and it is here, in the ashes of the Seljuk Sultanate of Rum, that our story connects to the future. As Mongol power waned, Anatolia fractured into a number of small Turkish principalities known as beyliks. These beyliks were born from the Seljuk military and administrative tradition. They were frontier warriors, continuing the holy war against the dwindling Byzantine Empire. One of these beyliks, located in northwestern Anatolia, was led by a chieftain named Osman. He and his followers, known as the Ottomans, inherited the Seljuk legacy, their military tactics, their administrative structures, and their religious zeal. From this tiny principality, Osman and his descendants would go on to build an empire that would not only conquer what was left of the Byzantine world, but would also once again unite the heartlands of Islam and rule for over 600 years. So, when we look at the magnificent mosques of Istanbul or marvel at the vast reach of the Ottoman Empire, we must remember the Seljuks. They were the pioneers who laid the groundwork. They were the ones who united a fractured world, who brought the Turks to Anatolia, and who created the political and cultural template from which the Ottoman Empire would rise. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into the past, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more deep dives into history. I'll see you next time.